The North Korea of 2025 is not the same nation Donald Trump once tried to charm with handshakes and photo ops. It is far more entrenched, far more militarized, and infinitely more dangerous. When Trump landed in South Korea in late October this year and said he would work very hard with Kim Jong Un to bring peace to the Korean peninsula, it sounded almost nostalgic, like a throwback to the 2018 Singapore summit, when the world briefly believed that personal diplomacy could tame a nuclear dictatorship. But that world is gone. The Korean peninsula today bears little resemblance to that moment of optimism. Pyongyang has changed structurally, ideologically, and constitutionally. Kim Jong-un's regime has rewritten the rules of engagement, and Washington is still pretending it hasn't noticed. Let's rewind for a moment. Between 2018 and 2019, Trump's summits with Kim made history. In Singapore, we saw something no sitting U.S. president had ever done, meeting face-to-face with the North Korean leader. The images of handshakes, flags, and smiles were powerful, suggesting that decades of hostility might finally give way to dialogue. The joint declaration from that summit spoke of peace, reconciliation, and the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. It was diplomatic theater at its peak, a perfect blend of spectacle and hope. But soon, reality intruded. The U.S. wanted total disarmament, complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization. North Korea wanted something else entirely: sanctions relief, security guarantees, and recognition as a legitimate power. The differences were irreconcilable. Then came the 2019 Hanoi summit. Kim offered to dismantle the Yongbyon nuclear complex in exchange for lifting key sanctions. Trump refused. He famously said, "Sometimes you have to walk." And walk he did, out of the summit, out of the illusion, and ultimately, out of any meaningful progress. That moment shattered the fragile bridge that diplomacy had built. By the summer of 2019, Trump made one last symbolic gesture, stepping across the demilitarized zone at Panmunjom. It was history again, but hollow this time. No follow-up negotiations, no new framework, no tangible outcomes. Within months, Kim Jong-un announced that North Korea was no longer bound by its self-imposed moratorium on nuclear and long-range missile testing. Then the pandemic hit, Trump lost the 2020 election, and diplomacy froze. But in Pyongyang, something much bigger was taking shape. Kim didn't just retreat, he redefined North Korea's identity around its nuclear weapons. In September 2022, the regime passed a law declaring itself a responsible nuclear weapons state. The law authorized automatic nuclear retaliation if Kim's command structure were ever threatened. 1 year later, in 2023, the regime went even further. It amended the Constitution itself. Article 58 now describes North Korea as a committed nuclear state and mandates the continued development of nuclear weapons as a constitutional duty. Think about that for a second. North Korea's nuclear program isn't just policy anymore. It's law, it's ideology, it's national identity. This move closed the door on denuclearization forever. To surrender the bomb would now be to betray the Constitution, the leadership, and the myth of national survival. Inside North Korea, Kim reinforced this shift with a familiar message. Hardship is sacrifice, and sacrifice strengthens sovereignty. State media now glorifies nuclear weapons as symbols of dignity, not danger. The economy is redirected toward defense industries, and factories once producing basic goods are repurposed to build missiles. By rejecting almost all humanitarian aid from South Korea in 2024, Pyongyang doubled down on its narrative of self-reliance. No outsiders, no weakness, no compromise. But nuclear nationalism isn't the only transformation. In the last 2 years, North Korea has also realigned its international partnerships, most notably with Russia. When Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine created a global demand for artillery and ammunition, Kim saw an opportunity. North Korea began supplying Moscow with shells, rockets, and short-range ballistic missiles. In return, it received cash, food, fuel, and most importantly, military technology. These transactions gave both countries what they wanted. Russia replenished its dwindling stockpiles, and North Korea gained access to advanced engineering for satellites and missiles. This relationship has effectively created a new Cold War-style exchange. Moscow gets weapons, Pyongyang gets legitimacy, and together, they chip away at the Western-led sanctions system. This alliance has also weakened China's leverage over Kim Jong-un. Yes, China still accounts for the vast majority of North Korea's trade, but politically, Beijing's influence is fading. By diversifying his allies, Kim has insulated himself. He no longer needs American dialogue or Chinese mediation to survive. He now operates from a position of unprecedented confidence. This trifecta: nuclear permanence, Russian backing, and ideological control makes the DPRK of 2025 a different beast altogether. And this brings us back to Trump's recent comment about working hard with Kim. The idea of peace sounds noble, but the foundation for that peace no longer exists. The North Korea of today has institutionalized its nuclear weapons. They are permanent, constitutional, and celebrated. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, as of mid-2025, North Korea possesses around 50 nuclear warheads and enough fissile material for 40 more. The arsenal is no longer symbolic, it's strategic, operational, and expanding. Kim has diversified his delivery systems, 2 short and medium-range missiles for regional targets, and intercontinental ballistic missiles for long-range deterrence. The development of the Hero Kim Kuno-K submarine in 2023 added a new second strike capability, allowing launches from the sea. This means that North Korea is no longer just a regional threat, it's a global one. So where does that leave diplomacy? The honest answer is sobering. Denuclearization is no longer achievable in the near term. The goal must now shift from elimination to management. That means focusing on reducing risks, preventing accidents, avoiding and reopening communication channels that have been silent since 2019. Military hotlines, liaison offices, and humanitarian exchanges could be starting points. Even small steps like cooperation on disaster relief or public health could help rebuild a foundation of trust. Another possibility is a phased arms control framework. Instead of demanding total surrender, the U.S. and its allies could negotiate verifiable limits on testing, fissile material production, or missile deployment. This approach isn't idealistic, it's realistic. It's the same logic that guided the early arms control agreements between the U.S. and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. You start with communication, you move to restraint, and only then, maybe, to disarmament. But for that to work, Washington and Seoul must stay aligned and manage expectations. Humanitarian aid must not be confused with strategic compromise, and the public must understand that peace, in this case, means stability, not resolution. The truth is uncomfortable. The age of summit diplomacy is over. The images of handshakes and border crossings belong to another era. The North Korea of 2025 has no interest in symbolism. It has constitutionalized defiance. Trump's words may sound hopeful, but they collide with a geopolitical reality that has fundamentally changed. The dream of a denuclearized Korean peninsula has yielded to the permanence of a nuclear North Korea. Going forward, diplomacy will not be about removing the bomb, it will be about living in its shadow. And that, more than anything, defines the danger of our time. A regime that has fused nuclear weapons with national identity, empowered by foreign allies and internal control, is not looking for peace, it's demanding acceptance. In 2025, Kim Jong Un no longer needs to talk to be heard. The bomb speaks for him.